SEC Media Days pushes on to day 3 in Atlanta. That means it is now Bama's turn to step up to the mic. The Kalen DeBoer era started off with a drop-off compared to the high standards of the Tide that we saw under Nick Saban, 9-4 a season ago, but feeling like they're ready to head back to the top of the mountain as they are one of 4 schools on the docket to speak today. You get Alabama, Mississippi State, my alma mater, and Florida and Oklahoma all on the schedule to appear at the Omni Hotel in the A. And that is exactly where we go out to find our one and only Josh Pate and former star Alabama running back Damien Harris, who are locked in with us. And let's start with the little message board material response, fellas, because a few weeks ago we had Florida State QB Thomas Castellanos going out and saying, they don't have Nick Saban to save them. I just don't see them stopping me. Then we get the response from Alabama linebacker Deontay Lawson saying, any disrespect will be handled accordingly. If you didn't have August 30th already circled on your calendar to get Alabama and Florida State going, how was this just a perfect jumping off point here for you, Damien, and talking about your Tide and what we're about to see this season and that first game of the year?
Well, like you said, the swagger is back, and this is what we're looking for as Alabama fans, Alabama alumni. Listen, we know you've got the talent. We know Coach DeBoer has won everywhere he's been at, every program he's been a part of. He is a proven winner, but we want that Alabama mentality back. We want that Bama standard back, and as a defensive player, especially coming out with comments like that, that lets me know that the team is tired of what happened last season. They're tired of the talk about how this isn't the same Alabama. They're tired of listening to people talk about Coach DeBoer. They're ready to put all that to bed. And I've seen them work this offseason. I've talked to people in the staff. They are prepared to come out and right the wrongs that they had last year, and they're ready to put Alabama back in the position that they're used to being.
When you would be on an airplane, flying over here, Nick Saban, your head coach, probably one of the first things out of his mouth was, hey, don't be saying stuff that gets put on a graphic for any network. I don't think they had that talk at Florida State. So then it gets the response that it gets, which I respect. Well, we'll just play the game. Now, my philosophy about this has always been, I'm okay with any amount of trash talk as long as you're talking about someone you're going to face. As long as you're talking about someone you're going to face, which Castellanos will face Alabama, that's cool. Because if they dunk on you 37-3, then you're just a clown emoji for the rest of your life. And if you beat them, then you become Diego Pavia, basically. So we'll see. It's, 6 weeks or so? We'll see.
Yeah, that recruiting class coming in 3rd in the country for Alabama. Josh, when you just look at this team as constructed, are they in a spot, like Damien kind of mentioned, of, okay, we can put all this chatter aside? Is that what you're expecting from this Bama team this year?
Yeah, I think also the important part about that is not just the recruiting class they're bringing in, it's guys they retained. Very sort of eerily similar to the conversation around Ohio State this time last year. A bunch of guys could have gone, probably 2nd or 3rd round guys could have gone, come back. Guys that could have gotten more in the portal. Nope, they chose to stay here. They see value in their future. They came back. The follow-up to that is what you're talking about is more mentality than just physical gifts. And so that kind of stuff, to a certain extent, in fact, to a total extent, you don't find out at media day. You don't find it out in fall scrimmages. You find it out week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, especially week 4 when you go to Georgia. You'll know, though, like, games don't lie. Those won't lie. So we'll know about that. I do think, to answer your question, though, Zach, everything they need, all the ingredients are in the kitchen. You just got to go make the meal.
And to piggyback off of that, I want to say and agree with, they have the recipe. But I think a little bit of that pressure that they've been under, not from the entire media perspective, but from Alabama fans alone. Like, and I'm not going to say that this is warranted. I'm not going to say that this is how it should be. But there have been talks about, well, is Kalen DeBoer going to be on the hot seat after this season if they don't have this record, if they don't go 9-3? You know, we're talking about the quarterback situation. There's a heavy competition going on there. Like, they're hearing all this chatter, and that's what changes a mentality right there, especially coming from the level that Alabama is used to being at, and then they have a down year. Everybody writes them off. This isn't the same Alabama. They're never going to be the same again. Well, again, when you've got all the components, when you've got all the ingredients, and then you just need a little bit of extra motivation. Like, I remember, Alabama has never needed motivation, but now that they have some with the talent they still have and the coaching staff, I think they have the potential to be dangerous this year.
If y'all don't know where Damien's coming from as he speaks, Damien, just hold up that ring for us so that the people can see it, loud and clear of where you're coming from.
Talking about this one? This one right here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? See, I thought it would only be right. We're sitting here at SEC Media Days. This is from 2015. And how glorious would it be if at the end of the season we're sitting here saying Alabama won, and I can just say, 10 years apart, but I did my part. I brought it. I shook hands with Coach DeBoer. He saw it. Some of the players saw it. But this is what it's all about right here. All the passion, enthusiasm, and energy we have about Alabama football, it comes from these right here. Everything we did to earn these, and we want to see that standard continue.
Zach, they also gave out free popcorn in the swag bag this morning. So we also got some popcorn.
Damien, I don't have a ring, but I paid some tuition. My parents paid tuition for me to go to the University of Florida. I was there when we won a national championship in 2008, so I think I put in some sweat equity as well to talk about this Florida program, because I know we can talk about the schedule and how tough it is, and I'm very, very aware of this. But Josh, I know when you did your tour all around the country, you made your way to Gainesville. The question is, if DJ Lagway is healthy, that can take care of a whole lot of things. How are you feeling about Florida right now and where things stand?
I feel good. I actually have him as one of the 10 best teams in the country. That's independent of schedule. So the schedule is like a whole conversation everyone's having about them. With Lagway, hey, look, I looked Napier in the eye point blank, said, is he healthy? He said, yes, he'll be good to go. And that was 2 or 3 months ago. So I've got to assume that he'll be good to go. No issue there. And if there is, then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Look, Billy Napier's here today, and it's so funny how we arrived here. Graham Mertz had to get hurt for us to arrive here last year, for them to scale up towards the end of the year. And it's so weird because no one ever roots for injury. But if you believe in bad luck, and I do, bad bounces, bad breaks, then you don't apologize when you get a good break.
Absolutely.
You don't apologize when some fortuitous luck finds your way, and you harness it. That's what you do. So they did it last year, and now they come into this year. And look, I'll say this. You could look at that schedule. It's very daunting, but if Florida's the caliber of team I think that they can be, it doesn't make the schedule any easier, Zach. What it does mean is Texas has got to go play them. Georgia's got to play them. LSU and Miami, they got to play them. You don't play your schedule on Saturday. You play a team on Saturday. So there's no strength of schedule on any given Saturday. You just go win the games, execute, and like we talked about yesterday, if that schedule's as tough as it looks, that's probably a team that can afford to be 9-3. You just win 3/4 of your games, you're probably in the postseason.
And when we look at DJ Lagway, this is a guy, his potential alone could have saved Billy Napier's job last season. It could have got people around the program that wanted to give Billy Napier another year, because they know they can have a really, really good quarterback that can lift their team too. Like you said, 9-3. They could even surprise us and be 10-2. They've got a great running back in Jaden Bond. They can have a balanced offense. They're good on defense. I think they're a little young. They could be a little bit better on defense. But, again, they've got all offseason to work on these things. So, again, we can have this conversation about DJ Lagway. We can have this conversation about Lenore Sellers. We can have this conversation about Arch Manning and the potential that they have. But, really, until week 1, we're not going to know. And from there, we're just going to have to see who plays the best football, who's prepared as well as they possibly could, and then the season will play out from there.
Yeah, sometimes this part of the summer we call it lion season. I'm not lying. I'm being honest. We're making it all the way to the playoffs, and I cannot wait for that moment to happen. I can't say the same way of waxing poetic talking about Mississippi State, though, because 2-10 a year ago. Damien, where do I begin? What does Jeff Lebby need to do? What's a good season for them?
I want to be nice when I say this.
Yep, diplomacy is the name. It's the word of the day here.
I think that a improved season, maybe if you win 3 games as opposed to 2, that is a step forward. But when I look at this Mississippi State team, respectfully, I think that they're very far away. I know we talk a lot about how the SEC is not as top-heavy as we're used to, but this is a team that's still lower to the bottom tier. I think that maybe they have the opportunity to win 2 or 3 games this year, but they just have a lot of things they need to work on offensively, defensively. And there's a lot of things you can point out for this Mississippi State team.
I'll say this. They think they're much improved in terms of bodies, SEC bodies. Okay. But if you think about the roster turnover here, that's a multi-year project anywhere. At Mississippi State, just calling it like it is, you're not getting your pick of the recruiting litter, so you're having to be a developmental program. That means you can't count on a true freshman class to come in and save you the way that you may be able to at a Florida or an Alabama or something like that. Look, Jeff Lebby was good enough to get this job. He got the job for a reason. It is very, very pivotal to understand if we're talking about a crowded top half of the SEC, and we all believe that to be the case, that means they got to get their wins somewhere. And that's probably against Mississippi State. Now, if you look at their schedule, there's this best case scenario where they win 6 games. That means they got to win all 4 of those non-cons. Southern Miss, not a give me at all. Arizona State was a playoff team last year, but you get them in Starkville. Alcorn, you should beat. NIU, Notre Dame thought they should beat them last year. They didn't. But my point is, let's say we're wrong about them and they're a notch or 2 better than us. Well, if you're undefeated with Tennessee coming to town to Starkville September 27th, that becomes a Super Bowl game. And we see that happen every year in college football. For it to happen in Starkville this year, you've got to take care of business in your non-con because there are not many easy outs elsewhere in conference play.
Yeah, tough to try to be optimistic when you look at what they were last year and what they could stand up against this year. Optimism may be there for Oklahoma, but they're coming off their second losing season in 3 tries under Brent Venables. Before that, they had 0 losing seasons in the previous 23 under Bob Stoops and Lincoln Riley. So, Damien, you look at here for Venables and you make the move to SEC now, year 2, a second crack at it. Are you expecting more from them?
I can say I can expect a little bit more. I mean, when you look at it, Oklahoma has never had trouble on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, when you look at how they played against Texas and other teams, like defensively, Brent Venables always has them in position to have a good defense. Now, offense is where they've had the problems. We saw what happened with Jackson Arnold last year. Didn't necessarily work out. But then you go get the offensive coordinator from Washington State. You bring the quarterback as well. That proves to me that he has a determination to right the wrongs on offense. And if you do that, and if you can put together a simple offense that is easy to execute for your players and for what the skill set that you have on your team, and you match that with a Brent Venables defense, which I played against in a couple national championships, I think that you're going to have an improved team from what we saw last year.
Zach, you had a lot of encouraging words. You had a lot of encouraging feelings about Florida. I feel that about Florida. I feel it about Oklahoma as well. There's some people dismissing them because they were terrible last year, and I get it. There are other people who are dismissing them because of the schedule. So they think, oh, even if they're improved, it won't show in the record. I think both of those teams are improved enough to where they can weather the storm of those schedules and still show improvement. And look, if Oklahoma doesn't show improvement, it won't be for lack of trying. He turned over every stone he possibly could, Venables being him. He's going back to calling plays defensively. I love the fact that he went to Washington State because they needed a quarterback, but not only did they bring the QB, they brought one of the hottest up-and-coming coordinators along with him. So there is no new install for your quarterback. There's no learning on the fly, drinking from the fire hose, all the metaphors people use. And that's why you talked about the simplicity of the offense. I think they may be able to do a layer better than that. You got some good skill talent there, probably hungry, extremely hungry, given what they had to live through last year. Oklahoma, look, here's a crazy scenario that I just want you to chew on, Zach. I don't need you to respond to it. I just want you to chew on it. You know, OU's 2 biggest games before Red River are at home. They play Auburn at home. They got Michigan at home. All right, Texas's 2 toughest games are at Ohio State and at Florida. What if there's some world where it's 4-0 Oklahoma against like 3-2 or something like that Texas? Because it sounds crazy for undefeated Oklahoma to be facing 2-loss Texas and Dallas. I'm just telling you, it's not my prediction, so I don't need to own this. It's not the craziest idea in the world.
We're going to chew on that. Josh, we'll just chew on that. We'll let the people let that marinate, let it roast, let them get through the day, see all the coverage we will continue to have from Atlanta. And for now, just say thank you, Josh Pate and Damien Harris, once again, for all of the action coming from Atlanta from SEC Media Days. And you talk about Media Days time. It's when it becomes fun to see how might things play out when the season begins. Well, your favorites are there on the left-hand side. Texas sitting at plus 280. Alabama, who we featured in this segment, plus 490. Contenders is what we're calling the Gators. I like it at 18-1. And Mississippi State over there in the long shot category, along with Vandy and Kentucky. So many ways that things can play out. That's why it's fun to talk about it. SEC football. We're continuing that coverage on HQ.